Oh. Oh. Well, we'll do it live. No volume on anyone, just iTunes? What do you mean? Can everyone speak in unison?
Now there's always a delay, so whenever someone says something pops up later.
Can you hear me? Am I speaking?
Sound testing. Sound testing.
Echo.
So it's working?
All right. Sounds like we got everyone.
Now it's a party.
Okay. So we're just gonna do this live. Dang, that was a great first segment.
We'll just keep it between us for now.
Yeah.
You gotta be a subscriber to get that.
Well, I mean, welcome to episode 84 of Dyad in the Force. Yes, I was doing housekeeping and adding things, so it is what it is. We'll this will be an inside joke for everyone in attendance right now. So for everyone in attendance, we might as well introduce everyone because I don't want anybody to miss these lovely people. Sage, we'll start with you again. If you can introduce yourself, where we can find you, and yeah, and all of your great content.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Sage. You can find me on TikTok and on Twitter at Sage Sindula. You can also find me on Fulcrum Transmissions podcast. You can find that anywhere you stream podcasts. Episodes come out every Monday. Usually we talk about books, comics, the High Republic a lot. And we also have a segment called Girl Boss of the Week, where we highlight a different woman in Star Wars every week. That one's our fan favorite. We have an episode coming out on Monday, and we will be discussing a girl boss that might be a little bit controversial within the fandom. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. As for an announcement that I have, I'm going to be a guest on the podcast Beings of the Galaxy in their second season. I did write an episode, so that's going to be fun. I'm a guest writer on that. Yeah, and if you know anything about me, you know that I'm obsessed with droids and robots alike, so you can probably guess what my episode's going to be about.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think I mean, Choco and I were on season 1. I played a tattoo artist that was just some like person that was disgruntled with just life and the war, I believe. Choco, who did you play?
I played a elder in a force-sensitive society who told the legend of just one of their local legends about their creation, and it was a great episode. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I have another one in store with Camilla about trying to involve Yoda in it. I know it's about the beings in the galaxy, but I think we're gonna try to put like an Easter egg in there where Yoda is just like in the background. He's like, oh, so we'll see. Also, Melvin Culpa in the chat saying, "Oh my God, is that Star Wars micro influencer Sage Sindula?"
I know. My biggest fan.
I've never heard that. What is micro influencer? Is that like an inside joke?
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have a small group of us that we call ourselves TikTok micro influencers. So embarrassing, but it is funny.
You guys are a huge part of the community, and nothing micro about you guys.
Right? I mean, I was excited to meet y'all and get you on here. So yeah, I mean, No macro influencer.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, I will wager a guess if you don't mind. Is this the girl boss of the week, Bear Sophie?
It's not Barris Offie. We should do an episode on Barris. Love her. No, our girl boss of the week that we are talking about on Monday is Arinda Price.
Ooh.
It's probably our shortest episode yet because Claire, my co-host, and I both really dislike Arinda Price. I feel like a majority of the fandom could say that she did some awful things. But, you know, we have an interesting conversation, to say the least.
I mean, you read the Throne book, and she absolutely girl bossed it, you know. And
she did. Definition of a girl boss.
right up into the shields protecting this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow,
thank you to Escape Reality Films for joining Dyad Squadron. I don't know why the alert didn't work, but in terms of what Sage has just said, Fulcrum Transmissions, a Star Wars podcast. You can find it on Twitter and TikTok at Fulcrum Pod, Instagram at Fulcrum Podcast. Give it a listen, and we're gonna introduce Daxon right now. He's gonna do his old spiel again for everyone to hear because of technical difficulties.
let me
so
do a
do
little
that.
hut juice.
Yeah, so do that, but also keep in mind
hot juice for courage.
to also give me a graphic whenever you can.
Yes. So if she is a micro influencer, then I am the tardigrade on her back. Yes, Dex and Download on YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok. TikTok is a lot of fun OC cosplay with a Sith character and Mando character doing fun, silly things with the friends I've made along the way. YouTube is my deeper dive. So pretty much every video I post on TikTok, there will be a far longer, deeper one on my YouTube channel. And my Twitter is just there for me to be like, hey, please watch this. I have a podcast with my wife and friend where we will, the House of Holocrons, where we will pretty much be covering everything from ancient Sith that won't make it to canon to scruffy nerf herders and all the sweet things in between. I ramble a lot, so I won't apologize for that in my videos because it's all important, I swear.
Yeah, we'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
And I suppose the announcement portion of that was your podcast, right?
Yes, the House of Holocrons will be airing every Friday at around 5 p.m. It will be live eventually. Right now, though, it is audio on Anchor and on Spotify, and then video uploaded on YouTube.
Right on. Go check it out. I did see your Shadow of the Sith review. It was pretty good.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad more people are also coming into YouTube as well because we need to like push the negativity out on all fronts.
The crazy thing is how I started watching so much content on YouTube, which really pushed me to be a creator, was the person who now I no longer wish to be emulating. I think it happens to a lot of us, sadly. You hear your hero's true voice and you go, ugh.
You know what? I did get to actually meet one of my heroes, and now I am currently hosting a podcast with him.
Bro, don't make me cry.
Wait. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. My wife saw me literally. I'm like, I gotta talk to Choco and Element 7, and I don't know what I'm gonna do.
But like, you know, it was such a strange position to be in Celebration when everyone was trying to like take pictures with you, and I was just like, I'm here, man. Just like come talk to me, and you know. And it was equally strange to have Daniel Jose Older just walk up to our group and just be like, "What up, guys?" You know, it's like, you do know you're DJO, right? And so
well, it was funny. I actually got to speak to quite a few authors because after their panels, they got off stage and could just walk through the crowds like regular people. and because you're always reading them and I'm always hearing them, but you're like, wait a second, I know you, but then they'd start to, it's a really interesting position. I wish I could be a writer on Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the dream.
I'm also trying to shoot for voice actor too, because like I'm trying to make a Mandalorian Mercs costume, because who knows, maybe I can be in the background, or maybe I'll be a voice actor and I can play Chopper's weird third cousin, and I'll just beat boop for a few hours.
Speaking of which,
I'd love to hear this audition.
speaking of which, this is true. You guys reminded me with
That was really good.
I work at Renaissance Festival, so accents are something I've started to try and lock down since a pretty young age.
Nice. So with Sage being in Beings in the Galaxy, with you wanting to be to do some voices, I think the Echoes family is going to grow a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar with Echoes of the Past, which is my audio drama that takes place after Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, I am not, but I'm gonna be.
Okay, I've heard you talking about it. Yeah.
And so, I mean, we've been fortunate enough to get people who sound like the original people, like Rey and Finn. Chris, Star Wars lawyer, made his debut in the last chapter as Finn as well. I had to kind of sub in because no one wanted to audition for Finn. But I do believe we also have someone coming in to voice Padme. That's not a spoiler alert. I'm just just saying the possibility of that character is a possibility. A possibility is a possibility. But I'd be thrilled to have you guys join and be a voice in that story in some way, shape, or form.
I think that's what will make an excellent Padme.
Oh, let's go. But Annie, I love you.
That's scary. Jeez.
Or should I go the other way? I love you so much. Give her a nice little stubble.
Little grapple back there. I like it. I'm for it.
No hate. Now I know I did just shift to fandom checkup, but Choco, do you have any announcements?
Not currently. Just excited to continue with all this. I'll be stepping up and making a lot more lore content. But on top of that, I know I have mentioned it in the past, but I actually do officially have myself a nutritionist, and my program starts on Monday. So I'm going to be trying to document as much of that as possible, and you can come along with me on that journey.
It's awesome.
Right on.
I know how big those steps are as a fluffy guy.
I mean, same. I lost like 60 pounds. If you watch my earlier YouTube videos, you can see where I began. But it is a journey for sure. Is your nutritionist a Twi'lek?
She's a former bodybuilder. So we'll see. And I wasn't always a fluffy guy. I was a former powerlifter and whatnot, but it's gonna be really interesting. I don't know. Stick with me, y'all. We'll see how well I do.
Yeah, okay. So Cal4 says no micros in this family. There are more of us means all of us. We are all the Republic. Yes.
Oh, gross. Republic.
Shout out to Brooks. There are more of us sticker that I have here that we got at Celebration. I don't know if she's selling them on her shop, but that is certainly a great segue for
what
Far,
shop
Far
is
Away
that?
Factory. farfarawayfactory.com, on Instagram, farfaraway factory, TikTok _bdazzler _gang represent. T-shirts, jackets, stickers, trinkets, earrings. Get all your awesome Star Wars stuff today at Far Away Factory. Let's see here. We will take over YouTube slowly. Thank you, Harith, for reaffirming our desires. X-Core Gamer Skill says, Choco, give Chris his Filoni hat back. Did you take it?
Not yet, but I do plan to pick up one.
Get a
Awesome.
nice Garth Brooks style dark black cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brooke just confirmed. She does have the stickers on there, so go check them out. I just got here in time. Also, Brooke, don't forget to send me that custom listing so that I can finally have like a Satil Sean merch. I've been waiting, and now it's finally time. Man, those transitions are amazing. Yeah, that's why I do the housekeeping on OBS, and that's why we have technical difficulties when we go live. But it's working now. So thanks for that, Cal. Brooke appears as the ad shows up. Yeah. So anything happen in the fandom? I don't want to hit the reset counter on this one particular subject because people have been trying to forget and move on. So unless there's something else, I think we can move past it. Does anybody have any?
I think the only thing I'm really looking at in the fandom is how, like, for one, Star Wars, please just release the trailers. We've all seen them by now. Every trailer that was at Celebrations is leaked pretty much now.
Oh, yeah.
And we just want to see them in not phone under someone's seat quality.
or Jedi Master DePaul's.
Yeah.
I don't want to bust his spot, but just saying. I don't know if they should,
you
though.
had to be pretty discreet though while doing it. So
should they?
I am, spoiled since I was there, but I actually lean towards no. And the reason I say that is because oftentimes when these trailers are released, there are certain elements of them that are a touch unfinished. Now, no one in the audience cares because we're all, that's the demographic that you can show those things to. And I certainly haven't gone back to like try and pick any of them apart to find anything that's unfinished or anything that might not be perfect or might not make sense. But I just know that that's typically the case with like Marvel and DC and these other studios. They release these things and don't let you do it for that specific reason. Some of the details will be unfinished. And I don't want the wrong group to get a hold of it and just defecate all over everything,
Which that just blows my mind because watching, even if it is unfinished, watching this stuff, I just came out of every one of those leaked trailers just going, I'm so excited, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I mean, of course, when you're there and you're at Celebration and they're like, hey, we have something to show you guys just for you guys, you're like in that mind space of like, okay, we might see things that are unfinished. But I think if people were to see where Ahsoka is after 3 weeks, they wouldn't care. They'd judge the hell out of it. And they were like, oh, what's the silent droid? I'm like, yeah, there's no lines in yet. Calm down. It's like, that stuff's still gonna come through. I'm sorry, X-Core Gamer Skills. He's like, I want to see them, but you're just gonna have to wait, unfortunately.
I mean, you can see them. They're just not good quality.
Yeah. they're the cams. And there's just not a lot. There's not much you're missing. I mean, the stuff that was really, really ready to see, they did release.
Well, I feel like we kind of all called where things were going with like Mandalorian and stuff anyway.
Yeah. And no, there's something that has no. Did they release Tales of the Jedi?
There's like a small teaser, but no, nothing like the trailer. No.
Okay. Well, I could see in the chat that you guys wanted to move on from that, and we will. We're not going to revisit that again. I think what's done is done, and we can talk about other things.
Yeah,
so
there's been enough said on that.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Dyad Book Club. Now, if you guys are following along with the Dyad Book Club, we are on Catalyst by James Luceno, and we are on track to finish that as well as Rebel Rising by the time Andor premieres. and I'd like to extend an invitation to both Sage and Dexon for possibly being on an Andor watch party at some point.
Happily.
Yeah, for sure. So excited for Andor.
Awesome.
I was one of the few people when Andor's figure come out, because you kind of see the bookshelves behind me that are just filled with way too much money I've spent on pieces of plastic. I was like, oh, I have Cassian Andor not in his winter jacket and in his winter jacket. I'm so excited. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Dang, you had that right. You had that ready.
I had it locked and loaded, right? It's in the chamber.
So yeah, we are reading Catalyst at the moment. We're on part 2, which is chapters 8 through 14. Choco, why don't you take it away?
Yeah. So we'll just kind of take a moment to talk about our takeaways and what we really enjoyed about like this little section of the book. Personally, this section has some little time jumps in it, but we get to spend some time with this watching the war ends and going into the Empire and seeing that transition from Republic to Empire, and how there are certain things that just never got fully established in the films. We saw like the superstructure of the Death Star at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Getting to go into more detail on the labor force and some of the mishaps that are happening yet. I'm trying not to take away from what you guys are going to say. So I'm curious, if you guys read the section and what you thought. Either one of you can go.
Yeah, I read the section, or rather I listened to the audiobook, and I'm always so interested in seeing how like the common people, people who were not like the Jedi, did transition from the end of the war into the reign of the Empire, and I thought that this book kind of like, because it was a bit choppy, in not like in a bad way or at all, but because it's written in this format, was very interesting to see like oh wow, we are all of a sudden the war has ended, and oh wait, Emperor Palpatine is capable of getting all of this done, but he wasn't when he was Chancellor. There was like a one-off line there that I was like, oh, okay, that's a slide. Anyways, yeah, so that, so interesting. And I definitely love that. Yeah, and also I just thought that seeing little Jin, it's always a treasure. Love her so much.
Yeah. How about you, Dexter?
Honestly, every scene where Tarkin and Krennic try to one-up each other is just so amazing, from like that background bureaucracy kind of just like little jabs in the gut. It's always fun. Really, I also took away from this though how much I would be willing to watch Lyra Urso just like go crazy on some adventures, like a Bear Grylls meets Star Wars. She's just adventuring on these planets with the holocam. She's like, and now we have to go drink enough milk to survive the night.
That would be incredible, actually. How we talk about like heist movies and then like espionage and thrillers. What about the survival? What about the Star Wars Revenant?
Right. And it's just her with this backpack just taking hollow images, and she's just like, well, I got to get down this giant ravine to map it out for space Google.
That was exactly my thought. Is like has the 360 camera and is like going on the hikes and adventures and stuff. I originally thought though that you were gonna say you wanted to watch her go crazy on Krennic because she.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Just have her hand her like a wrench or something and just like go for it.
I was surprised the fight scene that she did not interject more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the takeaway for me was like, just to kind of build upon what you were talking about, Jackson, is that Krennic is not the smartest person, but he is the most cunning. And the way he maneuvers Galen into like where he needs him to be, but also has to kind of maneuver around Mas Amedda, maneuvers around Tarkin, and just kind of putting all these pieces together to so that everything lines up where it ends up that Galen would finally be where he wants him to be. And I also found it interesting that like the only person that could technically outsmart him was the originator of the Death Star plans. And it's just like Krennic's trying to like take it for himself and it like kind of take credit for that, but then Poggle's like, nah, we don't do that. So
Poggle the Lesser gives me hardcore like Charles the Bald vibes. Charlemagne's son. He just like has this horrible name that he will be remembered through history, but he's not like the worst ruler. He's just out for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to say this every week, but Krennic is a menace. When it goes into the detail on how he has like Galen's whole life has been this weird pyramid scheme with like a Krennic in the background trying to pull all these strings, where he was responsible for what happened in the first chapter of the country taking over the research facility and branding him a traitor, and then he goes back to the company that owns the research facility and then bargains to get it back as long as they disavow Galen, and then he like gets Galen a crappy job that he's gonna hate. And like, oh man, he's just like one man ruining this guy's life at every turn, and he believes he's a friend. It's crazy.
I'm trying to think, have any of you guys had a boss like what is his name? Verbane or Herbane? I can say I've had a boss just like that guy. The guy who's just like, oh, I'm just here till 5 o'clock, man. Don't try to fix nothing. Don't try to make anything better. Just go do work, and can I just be left alone?
This is a run out the clock type of situation.
Yes. Yes, for sure. I think we all have, to an extent, a boss that just doesn't really care. What was funny about that part was like, just I think it was like a mirror of like The Office, where like you have more capable people like under you, and then like Scott's just like, yep, do your work and do good. And he doesn't understand what anybody else does in the office.
They succeed despite him, not because of.
I can also say though. Sorry, I feel like it's weird how Krennic has to play the slow game with Galen. Yeah. But like, I feel like if he had been left in that room with Tarkin for another day, Tarkin would have had him in the Empire by that evening. Because Tarkin has that weird guile about him.
Yeah, he's definitely weird. What was it? It was
sorry, I just shudder thinking about Lost Stars, how they look at him like a kindly old grandpa, like who will also eat your soul, like if he could.
Yeah. Okay. So what you have known? Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, let's talk.
I received a phone call.
I heard a TikTok of yours.
Yeah, I just missed the phone call and I went back into the last thing I was opening.
Oh, okay. What was I gonna say? It was funny to see Urbane when he finally had the last word with Galen, and he's like, I'll do what you want, and all I could picture was Scott going, oh, how the turntables. But were there any other takeaways you guys wanted to talk about with Catalyst 814?
I feel like Masamita is a peacock. He just has to like get fluffier and fluffier and wider to like show off.
I don't understand how he survives.
He survives for so long though. He outlived. He's still on Coruscant. Like, I hope they don't kill me after the whole empire is fallen.
I honestly, my first note ever was Masamita seems like someone that needs to be in the know but has no input.
Right? Why didn't you tell me?
The definition of the middle manager, where he's just shuffling papers back and forth. Like, Yeah.
Yeah. Sage, do you have any final thoughts?
My only final thought about this, I'll keep it short, but like maybe it's just because Krennic's in it, but I also was getting major like Thrawn treason vibes from this section, and I was like, oh my gosh, I miss this so much. Even like Poggle like outsmarting, he really entered his Thrawn era there, and I thought that was really great for him.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was also it's also very interesting, the cultural aspect of the Geonosians. Like,
Yeah.
let them fight over the jobs. And
That
Krennic's
confused
like,
me. I was like,
what the hell are you talking about? It's like, you know, we don't care if people die. You know, we just had a festival we just had a bloodletting. It doesn't matter to us. That's an interesting species. For sure.
Yeah, it was very weird. I'm like, but they're like, I thought they were like, you know, most insectoids have a hive mind, so don't they all kind of feel each other's pain, kind of? Like,
maybe that's their kink. I don't know.
right, that's where I was going. But hey, there we go. There it is.
Oh no.
Catching up with the chat, Kiki from the PNW is in the chat. The party just arrived. Hello, Kiki. Thank you for tuning in. Hello to K-Pop Times and Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is where the fun begins. This is exactly where the fun begins, because we are about to enter the High Republic Rewind. And that is because we haven't had High Republic in a couple of months, and we just want to get right back into it. So let us talk about the High Republic.
Now you're speaking my language.
Okay, so everyone was tasked with picking something special in the High Republic to talk about. So let's start with Jackson. What did you pick?
I picked the end of Phase 1, the Eye of the Storm comics, issue 1 and 2. As I said, I got to go give my respect to Big Daddy Ro and all of his evil machinations, the evil machinations of Markion.
That was an absolutely amazing comic series because, well, first of all, we got revealed to us his race. Like, we thought he was. What did we think he was initially? Grisk?
No, I never thought he was a Grisk. But I thought his family was in some way tied in with the Amaxines, with the Amaxine warriors.
That's right.
At first, I kind of figured maybe it was like some weird Chiss off-breed that, you know, had just like gotten lost somewhere into the galaxy.
It was definitely like a warrior type of like a species that was akin to the ascendancy, the Chiss.
But that's the crazy, like you said, we get to learn about the Avrini, and it's a really awesome story that ends in very sad. Like the panels that as they continue, it's just getting more and more desperate for these poor people.
Yeah.
Which is what leads Marchion into being, you know, the total absolute rule by might that he is.
And the Freudian slip there with Daddy Marchion and Marchion.
Yeah.
It's really cool though. I mean, the structure behind their family and how their planet was just always in a constant state of storming, and how they learned not to ever trust anyone unless their goals lined up for that brief moment. And it's pretty cool because they lean to this kind of Sith-like kind of tendency where, you know, they're going to lead to tearing each other down, but they kind of have a lot in common there. I really enjoyed that, and especially how, you know, his grandma started denial, and we get some of those origins.
Yeah.
I love it how like Mari Santeca was really he was in Marchion's life for his whole life, pretty much, it seems. So it was like the first tool he ever had to use, and one of the last tools he's going to use.
Yeah.
Or at least in Phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the panel that really hit home for me, the Avrini just don't care, was the panel where like the dad is sky fishing for these skyfish, and he brings home 3 and he has 4 people to defeat, and the wife just kicks the dad off of their platform. Like, wow.
Yeah, they would. I mean, they of course, like, their start was a little bit more humble, but like as time went on, they had to, you know, adapt to, like, you know, being survivalists, and like the strong survive, and it's such an interesting species, and if you haven't read Eye of the Storm, please do so, especially if you're interested in Markion Ro. Kiki from the PNW, I highly recommend Eye of the Storm just for the sake of just reading it. You don't have to have read anything previous in the High Republic.
That's true.
To kind of get into the comic. Is there anything specific that kind of highlights this entire series for you, and what makes you pick this one as your favorite?
It would definitely have to be the way that Markion is just like, I am doing this because I want you all to just fear and respect me out of that fear. The end of it, where it just finishes off with him just closing off, you know, the Outer Rim through this, and it's amazingly like it's a lot of tactics in that I had never thought we would see, and it's bringing something into Star Wars that's brand new. Like, we knew of like blockades, but this is a different kind of blockade. It's just cut off this whole area of space, and of course his control of the Nameless. Anything with the Nameless, I am in.
Yeah.
That's just, gosh, the Nameless is freaky.
Oh, I remember the first time I saw that picture of Loden after everything happened, I was like, whoa, that's like, we're getting close to like that R rating almost in a book.
It was nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
I remember first when I think it was DJ, right? That shared with the early look of Trail of Shadows. When we saw that panel, I was just like,
yeah,
why? Why did you start this off like that? Yeah, I just love everything that they did with the High Republic Phase 1, and Eye of the Storm was just one of them that just kind of like solidified Markion as the villain to look out for. And not just the Nile, but like what drives the Nile is Markion and his, as you said it, machinations. What about you, Sage? What did you pick?
I am going to talk about the High Republic Adventures comics, which was the IDW line of comics by Daniel Jose Older, and it kind of leads into Midnight Horizon, which is the third young adult novel of Phase 1. Yeah, it's probably my favorite comic ever, and it features my 2 favorite Star Wars characters who are consistently fighting for their lives for my number 1 slot. Zine Marala and Lula Talasola. They're just 2 little gay girls who are who are really badass, and I think that this story in particular of like how they met and their emotional journeys and their journeys through Lula being a Jedi and Zine being a Force-sensitive person who has, you know, suddenly like teamed up with the Jedi, a group of Force-sensitive people after, you know, living in a society where her Force sensitivity would have been looked down upon, and she would have been hated for it. Is so interesting and can resonate with so many people. And especially with so many queer people. And so I thought that was just something. I remember reading like the first issue, picking it up and being like, oh my God, like, am I reading this story about me? Like it was in a Star Wars, like, are you kidding? And so, yeah, I definitely vibed with that series a lot. And also just, there's, you know, the villain of it, Crix Camerat. I just love to hate him so much. I think like truly, like yes, he's like a 14-year-old little blonde boy, but truly, if I saw him, I would kick him in the face. Which
Same,
is
same.
also like not to say that I'm like I think that he is such an interesting villain though, mainly because he is a literal child, and so I thought that having a villain, an antagonist in a story that's about kids, having the antagonist also be a kid was something that you very rarely see, especially in fantasy, science fiction, and in Star Wars. So I just thought that as a whole, this story was very intriguing to read. I thought it was very wholesome at times and very heartbreaking at other times. And then bleeding into Midnight Horizon, my favorite Star Wars book ever.
So good.
It's
It is
it's really
so good. Also by Daniel Jose Older, who just wrote Zine Ralla's character so amazing in that book. Lula wasn't in it that much, so unfortunate, but it was okay because she was in Race to Crash Point Tower a lot, which was also so good.
Well, why don't we separate the two a little bit so we can kind of go into more depth on both of them, because I loved your picks, and also I just finished Ballad and Dagger, and that book was also very special. The way he blended together so many things while making a personal book, but still getting the macro with your family and your lineage, and then also making it about like industry and the dangers of not knowing where you came from. It's wild. But you said, am I reading a story about myself? I'm curious which ones, between Zine and Lula, who you identify as more, or if it's both, what parts?
Yeah. So actually, the way that I read The High Republic was like so completely out of order. I do not recommend it at all. I read Light of the Jedi. I read the first half of Light of the Jedi, and then I read Into the Dark, and then the second half of Light of the Jedi. That was super interesting. And then I read up until I think The Rising Storm, and then Race to Crash Point Tower came out at the same time, and so I read that one after The Rising Storm. And then I went back and read all of the comics up until that point. So my first introduction to the High Republic Adventures characters was in Race to Crash Point Tower. And so I was reading about Lula, and at first I was like, oh my gosh, this is about a Jedi who just wants to be the best and also is like worried that she'll never be the best and can't like live up to the expectations that she puts on herself. Oh my gosh, is that not me? At the time I was like in college still, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally just like me. And then she, there's a little moment with Zine, and there's a few moments with Zine in there that she has. But I feel like there's one in particular when they were in basically the ruins of Valo. And the first thing that Lula thinks about when she's being attacked is like, oh, I hope Zine is okay. And I was like, oh my God, are they in love? Like, what's going on here? And then I was like, oh, maybe I'm just projecting. And then I went back and I read literally the first issue of the High Republic Adventures comics, and I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not projecting. Like, these girls are gay and they're in love. And then throughout the series, at first I was very much leaning towards Lula. I was like, wow, like I really relate to her as like someone who like puts so much pressure on herself and stuff. But then I think it was Midnight Horizon. As soon as I got to Midnight Horizon, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I am just Zine Ralla. Like, Daniel, are you in my walls? How did you know that you're writing a story about me? And so I do think that I relate to Zine a little bit more than Lula now, but it was very much Lula for a very long time. And I just think their story altogether is very reminiscent of, events that happened to teenage girls who are in love and also maybe can't be for multiple reasons. And so, yeah, those are just that's obviously one of my favorite parts about the story. But in general, it's just such a good story. It's just so emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really
Natural.
enjoyed the kind of back in between of in a Jedi sense of affection and attachment.
Yes.
Yeah.
A huge part of Midnight Horizon, which Cantum Sai, who is probably one of my favorite Jedi, they very much talk about like, oh, to love is to let go, and you can love people without being attached to them. And I think that message was something that was very much needed, especially for, you know, being the last book in phase 1. Especially after reading The Fallen Star, you're kind of like, I am so heartbroken. I'm so attached to all these characters. And then maybe you're like, oh, okay, Cantum Sai, maybe you have a point here. Maybe you have a point here.
If only Anakin had like learned a little bit of Cantum Size knowledge.
If only Anakin
There would be
had
no Star
learned.
Wars. So
That would have
true.
solved a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Natural follow-up question: is there a zine cosplay in the future?
Oh,
Oh,
from me, yeah, probably Celebration London. It depends though, because I do know that Cabin Scott's comic series for phase 2 has Mathia, the red Twi'lek, who has
right.
been on the those variant covers got released yesterday, and I just about fainted. So we might have to do her too. There's 4 days of Star Wars Celebration though. Like we can do
Yes.
for cosplays. But
I
yeah,
can somehow make it to London. I gotta try and do a High Republic just because it's so drippy. It's so good.
Oh
Yeah,
the
yeah.
gold trim, the gold trims. It's just too good.
Yeah, there was a lot of High Republic cosplay in Anaheim, so I am excited for what we're going to see in London. And if you can make it out, Dexon, it would be awesome to meet you. And yeah, I mean we have planned, I believe, the 4th to the 11th. So we're there a couple of days earlier to give ourselves some time to, like, you know, enjoy London and see the sights. But
Yeah.
for sure, I can't wait to see the cosplays that come out of this. It is it's always great to see all of the wonderful cosplays that come out of the High Republic, because all we have of them are 2D pictures.
Yeah.
So whatever people take from these 2D pictures and make cosplays out of, it's always incredible to see. Carter Dibbert is here. Carter, I think he's off to
Hey.
I forget where he went off to, but he went off to somewhere. But he's here to he was at least here 10 minutes ago. I said amazing panel today. Let's see here. Connor says, Sage, I love how you word stuff. This is one of my favorite guests you've had on.
oh,
Right
thank
on.
you. Yeah, you can listen to me talk more at Fulcrum Transmissions podcast.
Here, let me,
Very
let me do this
nice.
for- let me do this for you.
Absolutely. Just one more thing I wanted to bring up about Midnight Horizon is I need another like buddy comic of just Ram
Yes.
and Reith just
Yes.
hanging out, and like Ram's journey of being I relate to Ram a lot. He's just like, man, I just want to like build things. Like I don't want to fight anyone. I have to go into battle, like but just kind of the numbness that he felt after dealing with all this stuff is something I've related to and dealt with myself. And in both these comics and this book, that's one of the things DJO excels at, is just telling people's truths. These are things that people go through and just have to learn a way to deal with. I can't wait to see where we go further with it.
And also anything with Reith, just because that guy is like the purest Jedi. I've never met he just always is just like, okay, but I'm just gonna help a little. Can I just help a little?
He is the goodest boy. He is the
He is
goodest
our
boy.
goodest boy, yes. And it's also I find it interesting that like a lot of my favorites are the younger Padawans, and I think for the longest time in Star Wars, I don't know why I said it like that. For the longest time in Star Wars, we've followed masters and knights, and we haven't had the opportunity to learn. And so we learn with source books and encyclopedias and visual dictionaries, and then finally we have an era where it's just filled with people learning, Padawans and initiates, which is why, despite my favorites being Orla Jareni and Cantum, my like they're gimmies. My favorites being Vernestra, Zine, and Wreath. Like the amount of growing and learning that they go through is just incredible to experience. And I have to ask Sage, because you said that Lula wasn't in Midnight Horizon a lot. Have you read the manga?
The
Edge of Balance.
oh yes.
Okay. So
Edge of Balance to my oh my gosh, maybe I cried so much in Edge of Balance too.
And if in case you guys are unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, there was Zine and Lula. If I can get the camera to focus,
they
were
look so
drawn
good there.
so perfectly.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, I was
relate to your hatred of Crix, especially when he got his F-boy haircut.
When he's doing his Martian Rowe cosplay, I'm like, boy, can you just be original for 5 seconds?
He's got a punchable face for sure.
The way Nan was staring at him like, I'm gonna kill you. Like,
you ever just wanted to kick a teenager?
Yeah.
Every time I open up Higher Public Adventures.
Go ahead.
I was just kind of wanted to go back and just a little bit to what Choco was saying about Ram and like his feeling of emptiness, and I also just wanted to add on about just how Daniel speaks all these truths and to show and to portray them, to portray all these reactions to trauma that all these kids are feeling in children is so important, and something I never thought I would ever read about in Star Wars. And I also, this is totally taken when I had a conversation with Daniel one time, I'm pretty sure it was on Fulcrum Transmissions podcast. He was talking about the scene in Midnight Horizon where Ram shatters everyone's comm units around him on accident, in like a burst of rage at seeing all these people dressed up as the Nihil, and how it is so important to show that, these kids who are going through terrible things have rage and how to express that in a healthy way, because as soon as he did that, Wreath was right there helping him out. And I thought that was such just a genuinely magical part of like reading that book, was just like, wow, this is how we need to talk about kids, especially in like times like these right now, where we're like everyone, especially young people though, are getting so exposed to terrible things around the world. It's really important to have an outlet for that, and to have a good way to communicate, a healthy way to communicate feeling anger and also feeling nothing. And that's just another reason why I love that book and this series so much.
I mean, what made Midnight Horizon rise above most of the main adult novels for me was the Cantum Sai story, the letting go, because it recontextualized Ahsoka's journey. And before that I had thought, it's just part of her kind of finding who she is, and she has to figure her stuff out. But after Midnight Horizon, you pay attention to it more, and you're like, that's the most Jedi thing she could have done, is to leave, just like Phantom. Because like you have to exercise non-attachment to let go and leave. And then when I read that passage for the first time, like he came back and Yoda was like, "You a knight now." I was like, "What?" That was a lesson. So yeah, that shot up Midnight Horizon for sure.
I was looking at the thing about Climax. My people, they need me.
Shout out to Chase in the chat. Hey, and Jedi Starkiller AJ, who says Anakin would have been like, cool story, but hear me out. Which, yes.
What if we just stabbed them?
It sounds like Anakin. Like
I
someone
know
just like,
we should let go, but what if I held on tighter?
Yeah.
Murdered everyone.
I'm like,
What
I'm
if I
always
don't
so,
read the room?
I'm always so like
Mayonnaise is not an instrument, Anakin.
damn. I'm always so cautious about somebody who starts off the sentence with "hear me out." Should we not murder them? Yeah, but also hear me out. It's like, no,
Right.
Let me play
I'm not-
devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Not a bad guy, just bad decisions, okay?
Yeah. I mean, everybody in the chat is basically echoing Anakin would have just blown it off as a lesson and I'll listen to it. I mean, Anakin is the cautionary tale, everyone.
Yeah.
Because Elzar sought help. So that's like the what's the opposite of cautionary tale? The leading example?
OSHA rules?
I don't know if everyone else here does, but I do love those videos where he's like, "Come with me, and you'll see, you'll be in a world of OSHA violations."
Yes, the Jedi Temple during the Clone Wars. OSHA was not there ever.
They certainly weren't on the Death Star. That's for damn sure. Or the
AJ
Naboo Palace of just like endless walkways with no railings and just big energy beams. Like, what is this place?
Yeah.
AJ says, "I love watching Bell struggle with his talent versus his self-doubt,"
Yeah.
which kind of
Bell
plays
said-
into like how his self-doubt is kind of like helped by the fact that like he's just lost so much, especially in masters. It's like, can I just have a master?
No, the Force says no. You got to learn a weird way.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm reading Padawan right now, and it's kind of like the same thing, and you start to realize, oh, it's like poetry, it rhymes. A lot of these people are experiencing the same things, except they're surrounded by an environment that's not welcoming of dealing with their problems correctly or properly or in the most efficient way.
Which is cool to see that in the High Republic, how like that happens with a lot of them. Elzar Mann suffers through stuff like that, but then eventually, you know, in the Star Wars main run, we see him talk to Luke and kind of come like more into like, oh, dude, yeah, you're gonna mess up. Like, don't try not to.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest downfall, is trying not to fall.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that if you're on the cliff, try not, just let go. I'm just saying. Don't.
Well,
try
if you're
too
loading
hard.
Greatstorm, no. If you're loading Greatstorm, he's gonna throw you off that cliff every single time.
Hey, it's a good lesson.
As a skateboarder, I mean, that's the thing, is like, if you are learning, you will fall.
Mm-hmm.
It's best to fall right.
Yeah.
This is true.
You know.
The Force is your helmet.
Oh, I gotta address this, and I'll include you guys in this as well. A question that came up last night, and we'll make it quick. Kiki asks, milkshakes or smoothies? Or it was a question that she posed in a video last night. And I want your guys' quick take on that.
No.
Are milkshake smoothies?
Milkshakes are smoothies. Definitely.
I gotta say no, because I eat a milkshake. I feel like it's thicker. You can go with a spoon. If you spoon a smoothie, it's just soup.
I think we'll leave it at that. So it's 2-2. Kiki, Sage and I agree milkshakes are smoothies, and Dexon and Choco are wrong. The
It's all about the malt. You gotta have the malt.
Well, okay, so listen, the textbook definition of smoothie is blended with milk, yogurt, or a creamy beverage with fruit. And a milkshake, if it's a strawberry milkshake or any other fruit, is milk-based or yogurt-based if you want to use a gelato or a frozen yogurt, it's fine.
So then the milkshake ceases to be a milkshake and becomes a smoothie.
I mean, I think smoothie is either smoothie is an umbrella term or milkshake is an umbrella term. And
Yes, they're-
smoothie,
They mean different things. They can overlap, but if you were speaking to someone and said, "Bring me a strawberry milkshake," or you're speaking to a different person and said, "Bring me a strawberry smoothie," they will bring you two different things. They will lean into what the umbrella mostly covers.
oh yeah, no, this is an argument about semantics though, not how are you going to order things.
When you go to Sonic and you order,
Of course you're going to order a milkshake if you want a milkshake. What I'm saying, is one considered another? And I would like to hear Sage's opinion on this.
Not to dox myself, but as someone who, yes, I am a Star Wars influencer by day or by night. I guess I would be a smoothie maker by day. That is my day job.
Ooh.
I will say that when I make our most popular smoothie, which is a strawberry smoothie, it is made with strawberries and vanilla yogurt. But vanilla yogurt is so sweet and has so much sugar in it, it should just be considered ice cream. And so I would call them both a smoothie and a milkshake. So
There
that's
you
my
have it,
opinion.
folks. Straight from an expert's mouth.
That's me.
Yeah. I mean, Kiki, I think we got this one in the books. I think we can
I don't know.
close it.
I've brought many a boy to the yard. Therefore,
and never once did they ask for my smoothie.
Hey,
just
listen.
saying, that makes me a milkshake expert.
This is semantics again.
No, the semantics make sense.
Because your
Hearing
milkshake
your
could bring
semantic
all the
argument-
boys, but your smoothie could also bring all the boys. It just depends on what you proclaim it such.
I mean, let's be honest. Bacon brings all the boys.
That is true. Unless they're vegan.
Then we just give them the plant-based stuff, but that's just pretty much liquid smoke.
Yeah, Earth Production says Sage the expert has spoken. So I think we're gonna go with that. Hear me out, milk smoothie. Why are we opening trans-dimensional portals all of a sudden? We don't need to
All
complicate
right,
things.
yeah, close the world between worlds. Let's not.
When did we become Padawans? All right, we're moving on because let's let them have that. Okay. Appreciate the expert advice, but we are. I mean, yeah. Let's close the book on this story, Kiki. So Choco, what did you pick for your High Republic story?
Yeah, so I went with Trail of Shadows, our detective noir story, also written by DJO. And when this dropped, well, first of all, we on TikTok we did our collaboration of the lullaby. That was a lot of fun to help put together and just be eerie with that song. But when this first dropped, we had only had Rising Storm, and there's so many questions in regards to what happened to Loden at the end of that book. And this book starts out with emotional damage for sure.
Mhm.
I've always loved detective stories. I love figuring things out. And I identified, with Emmerich, not just because he's black, but the detective aspects I always really love. And then of course him using the yellow lightsaber, I was like, damn, did he put me on there? Like,
Apparently, these authors are just in walls, man. They're in everybody's walls.
It's just Daniel. He's in everyone's walls.
Yeah.
Listen, I talked to Daniel about Talbota, and I was like, "Was that after you?" And then he's like, "Let me look." He's like, "Oh, that does look like me." And I'm just like, "Exactly. You're just putting yourself in these comics." But yeah, go ahead.
Watching these two uncover the mystery behind these creatures, I found it to be really gripping, especially in the end when Emmerich is feeling the fear, he's feeling the effects of exactly what's going on, and is still facing it head on anyways. Because he knows that whatever he finds out, we all know what happens with Starlight Beacon. Emmerich is the only person trying to land on it so that he can go investigate while everyone else is running away. And that's just kind of badass to me. We also get Torben buck naked, and that was also wonderful.
Wow, yeah. That was that was memorable for sure. I really enjoyed this comic too. The detective thing was something that we had never seen from Star Wars before, and it was so much more than just kind of implying detective work. Like there were panels that they were like actually being detectives, and the whole like the shudder. I shudder at the thought of like that Ongri who sings that song, and whether or not it would like we could possibly like produce that song. Could we? I mean, we produced one on the fly in TikTok, but I feel like we could
do something up a little bit neater, a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that one, Choco. Emmerich is on it. I loved watching him like piece stuff out. But again, it's almost like in the High Republic, every Jedi needs his non-force sensitive partner to help him if a nameless decides to appear, or just the echo of these creatures is so powerful that it just, in the art, every comic panel where a Jedi is suffering through the nameless's, abilities, the art is always so gorgeous. How like there's no lines, there's no hard lines at all. Everything starts to meld into just this weird, horrific visage.
Yeah,
It's
always so powerful.
When we see that the claw emerging out of the dark in that one panel, and that was like one of the first things we got to see of what it actually looks like, because we've only been told, up until this point, from the point of view of these Jedi, and you're just like, oh man, the thing was terrifying, and it takes on the visage of, in his mind, Cellen Geos. That moment.
Daniel was so wrong for that. Why did that was so weird. I'm sorry. I got to that panel and I was, it's like 1 a.m, and I'm like, we can't be doing this right now. The wood is so fresh. Trail of Shadows, as somebody who is and was a leveler enthusiast, was my Joker. I really had such a good time with that little mini series. I do remember though, after the Rising Storm came out, I was on every single social media platform, just like, you guys, this is my whole leveler theory. I had like annotations, I had post-it notes on my walls trying to figure out what the leveler was. And every single issue of Trail of Shadows that gave us more information, I was like, I'm literally so right. Like it was such a good time for me, but it was a horrible time for everyone else to be around me. I was a little bit insufferable.
No.
Yes. And then,
I can kind of agree with that. I was the guy running around like, look, and you can see Starlight from this point of view, and from this point of view, and in this comic you can see it from this point of view.
Yeah, but I think one of the parts about Trail of Shadows that I was so obsessed with was Emmerich and Cyan. Like, their relationship was just so, like, you start out and you're kind of like, okay, this is cute, And then with every issue, I was like, okay, so when are they gonna kiss? Like when is this happening? I need it right now. I think that, yeah, like you're saying, the little Jedi and their non-force sensitive buddy partner is so important, and so important for this one in general. And also, a girl boss with a lightsaber, are you kidding? I will always take it. If I know anything about Daniel, he's going in writing for Star Wars, it's that he's gonna give me a girl boss with a lightsaber. So
it was also, you know, it was also part of like the crossover type of timeline where the great race kind of overlapped in multiple comics. Where you would see it from different angles, and like, you know, Emmerich is just like walking down the hallway, he's like zoom, like Ram is just like running by, he's like, oh my gosh, I saw that in another panel in the High Republic Adventures. And San was just a total badass. Every time she like gave Emmerich lip, I was just like, is she a firecracker? And he's about to fall in love. So I hope phase 3, at least, because we know where phase 2 is going. I hope phase 3 returns to this timeline, and we get some closure for these characters, because we're attached to them now. And Choco, if you don't have anything else with Trailer Shadows.
Yeah, I mean, we'll leave it at that. But yes, the romance aspect of it was beautiful. There was just that scene where we are inside of her head as she's talking about how, you know, she's feeling the vibes. Talks about how unattainable it is, but like how she's gonna live in this moment. And then he, as the dude, was just like, oh. And that was his revelation. I just love that.
X-Core Gamer Steel says, we can't talk about the difference between milkshakes and smoothies on Podwans because Char will be too confused. Harith adding, Luke would be confused as well. I can hold down the fort in that conversation. I mean, it's not that complicated. I mean, I guess we can complicate things further if we wanted to. AJ says, I'm Jedi J, and this is my hetero force-sensitive life mate, Silent Bob.
Yup.
Choco, do your best, Silent Bob.
Emmys.
Emmys, Oscars, the whole thing.
Everything. King Caboodle.
I will win
with
Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah, there we go. With Trial of Shadows also, it was kind of nice to get to see a bit more of the Doctor, the Chadra fan. Can't remember.
Utterson.
Yeah, that was a weird story. I didn't, honestly, when they first started like bringing him in, I'm like, oh, cool, I hate this guy. And they're like, oh my God, he's got a family. Don't go tell me about his family. I don't want to like him. Okay, I guess I kind of like him.
You know, it's funny.
He did have that unhinged moment. I'm a doctor. You're like, oh, put down the gun, doctor.
Trail of Shadows is one of the issues that we did a comic reading for on the Discord server, where we would voice it. And
that sounds fun.
Uttersond became my favorite of that comic series simply because of the voice I chose for him. Don't question my intelligence. I am Uttersond. You know.
Always kind of like at the I can see. I love that at the end of the sentence. Always that like a strain of breath, just like I'm talking so much, but you have to listen.
Yes, exactly.
Uttersond in general is just so unhinged. Remember, my favorite part about him in that comic is just like they're like, oh, he's selling something on the black market. And then it ended up being the leveler. He just was trying to sell the leveler on the black market. Okay. Go you, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many characters across so many High Republic books, comics, and issues. And I want to round things out with the second volume of the first ever original manga from Star Wars, which is Edge of Balance. And the reason I picked it is because time and time again, when I talk about Edge of Balance, someone somewhere is saying there is a manga, and we need to expose this more and more. You know, we have a bunch of mangas for different adaptations and novelizations already, but I think this is the first one that is an original manga for Star Wars, and you know, just the story that is centered around the adjacent people to the conflict. We have the adjacent to, you know, the Valo attack. We have adjacent to the Great Disaster, and now we have the adjacent to the Starlight Beacon attack. And these stories are so important, and I like to highlight these stories because and everyone will know in the chat, and Choco included, you know, I always bring up Chase Windsor from FactPov, where like these stories of just like these random people having an impact on the way things go. And in this case, they're not like random people, but they're like the Jedi from the backwaters of Banshee, and it's not like following the main story of Adventures or High Republic where they're dealing with the Nile on the front lines. This is the backwaters, dealing with how Markion sends his people to deal with those planets to like create a ruckus or to create distractions around the main assault. And I picked this issue because Sav Maligan is a badass Kyuso, and I believe our first ever canon Kyuso Jedi as well. And she just like, the first time I saw her in Adventures, like taking care of
that?
Just like the way they drew her taking care of like the starships coming in, and I was like, I didn't think we were going to get this level of like OP-ness in Star Wars. She's a complete boss in this issue, and you know, we get to see how the Nile operate outside of main assaults. It's usually about subterfuge, and it's usually about like an infiltration. We see that there is this like normal person who was like a refugee that came in and is cared for by the temple, and then that refugee is planting like, it's like he's you know, snitching, and he's giving intel, but he's also planting things so that they have an in. And I love the story that revolves around this type of stuff about, you know, what's happening away from it all, what's happening from the main assaults. And Lily is also a badass, and Vivni and Nima need to be protected at all costs. They are of the category of Buriaga. He's still alive, don't worry about it. They are in the category, they're in the protected species category. Vivni and Nima need to stay alive, and nothing can happen to them.
I actually got to talk to Claudia Gray at a convention here in Kansas City, and I was just like, can I just say how much it hurt with Buriaga's scene? And she just kind of gave me this look and smile, and like, oh, it hurt to write. And I'm like, you didn't look sad though. What are you not telling me?
I also like, and I'll pass it off to like to Sage really quickly, because I know that Lily crosses paths with Lula and Zine. But if you guys are unfamiliar, this is Vivnia and Nima. They need to be protected at all costs. That is all. All right, what do you guys think of Edge of Balance?
I need more stuff like this, because for one, Visions was great, and then when I saw this, I was like, yeah, let's go. And so with stuff like this, I'm immediately just thinking the art style. That's really what drew me in. First, I'm like, I love manga and anime, but let me just check this out. I never would have thought this worked, especially written in Star Wars. But it was a lot more entertaining. And again, we got another Wookiee Jedi. I'm down for as many as they want to throw at me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love Edge of Balance. I did say before that I cried so hard in the second one, which is true. Am I allowed to spoil it? Is that okay? Or are
Yeah,
we keeping it like spoiler free? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we probably would like it to kind of steer clear of like explicit stuff.
Okay.
So if you want to be implicit about what you're talking about, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people are they've kind of resigned themselves to hearing about things that
Okay.
I don't think we've been kind of spoilery, have we?
Yeah. I think that the master and apprentice relationship in this one is we've seen so many good ones in the High Republic, so many like great student teacher dynamics. I think this one is one of my favorites. How Lily, and it's Kieran, right? Is his name, his Padawan's name, or her Padawan's name? Is that it?
I have no idea how to pronounce it.
I think
I just let my brain probably jumble it up each time I read it and just go on.
Yeah, I mean it looks like Kieran.
I think, yeah, that's how I read it in my head. Anyway, their relationship was very not like any other ones that we really saw. They're both so young. Especially Lily's very young. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Vernestra, but has more of a gracefulness to her teaching methods than Vern did, who was kind of caught off guard and was like, oh wait, now I have a Padawan all of a sudden, oh my god. But I did think and especially in Edge of Balance 2, the way that their relationship goes towards the end was definitely something that I was not expecting, and made me so worried, just because I was like, wow, I think that the High Republic Adventures is gonna end super happy, and I was like, Daniel wouldn't do that to me. And then I read Edge of Balance 2 and I was like, oh, Daniel,
Everything's on the table.
So, yeah.
I think we need to stop saying that they wouldn't do this to us. I
I
think.
know.
Claudia Gray will rip your heart out.
I mean, they were being so cordial and like blasé about saying at the panel, "It's time to kill everyone," and I'm just like, why? Remove that thought from your head. How are you saying this so easily?
Well, something weird's got to happen,
Yeah. But
Oh, there's so much. That was a hard choice for me not to go with Fallen Star though, just because like there's so much trauma from reading that book of just like, oh, I really like this. Oh no, they're gone. Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna. Oh no, gone. Okay. Elzar Man can't mess up this many times in a no. Yeah, okay.
but I'm glad everyone chose something that was away from the main line, the main 3 books. Because they do deserve more attention. A Test of Courage for sure. That's when Vernestra became my favorite. Like the tink tink, zoo, like what? Okay. And
My wife is reading Mission to Disaster right now.
Yeah.
Mission to Disaster.
Mission to Disaster, Test of Courage.
Me, Monster of Temple Peak, because Ty York is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have the Battle of Starlight as well. All of the junior books, the YAs, they definitely deserve your time. I know, like, when we talk about recommending High Republic to people, we're like, listen, like, bare minimum, the main 3 adult novels, you can do that. But I recommend all of them.
So much.
You're missing so much. And honestly, it's not a High Republic comic, but like Halcyon. I was like, it's Barry Yaga. I'm going to read this.
Yeah, the first episode issue.
Yep.
And like now there's like nothing I want more than to have like Sav and Cantum Sai and Ty Yorick go on an adventure. Those 3. Man. I think that would lead to just amazing conversation and stuff, and I would just want to be a fly in the wall in that book. But like a lot of them aren't the biggest named characters and all this, and yeah, you're missing out on so much intricate character work. Lily Torasi is not like any other character that we really know. She's so inflexible, and like in the first one, she just kind of just hates kids. It's just is hilarious, and the realization of you're hard like stone. You need to be more like water, and how it manifests. I don't know. I love seeing these type of lessons being learned, and just really unique Force users, and how unique each and every one of the Jedi are. That's why I'm not someone that typically likes to blame the Jedi Order for stuff, because it's made up of so many very unique individuals, and each person's perspective is going to weigh in on what they do and how they do it a lot.
Yeah. Oh, and like Creve Tennis, that was also a really fun with the main story or the main comic line.
Did you just call her Tennis?
Yeah, it was my brain. Yeah.
I was trying to make a joke about tennis and tennis balls, but
I hit that one out of the court.
yeah.
No, but and honestly, like a really hard tie for favorite Jedi so far, which I don't know if they count as one because of their Bond twinness, but Sirit and Tarek, I absolutely would go. I would love just a series about like those two, just going around being a individual.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of potential to visit everyone's kind of individual backstories, but overall, I think the High Republic deserves everyone's attention. I think that we are on the precipice of getting a High Republic visual media piece at one point. We have Acolyte, that's for sure coming, but that's at the tail end of it.
Oh, it's the Sith.
Yes, and it is the Sith.
Part of me though still has this like where I want to gatekeep it, because it's been such a pure community in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's like this wonderful fraternity where you're like, do you read the High Republic? Then I like you already. Like that's all you need to know, But you're absolutely right. This should be shared, and everyone deserves the opportunity to fall in love with these stories.
Well, that's the crazy thing to me, because so many people want to talk about like, oh, I just need some new Star Wars. I just need this, this story trope. I don't want to do the sequels. I'm like, then that's the High Republic. It is everything you're looking for. It has the adventure. It has the love that, the unrequited and given back. It has so many beautiful stories. You don't even have to read it. The audiobooks are also really well done. Just listen to it while you're driving or at work. There's so many options, and this is on par Star Wars. It's not like this is made for 12-year-olds only.
Yeah. And the people that are going to trash it are the people that just are not going to be reading it. So we don't really care about what they think. This is the same person that just like who reads Queen's Hope and is bothered by neo-pronouns, and that's their whole review. There's nothing about the story or the plot.
Which I got to give the High Republic kudos. They did such a good job about these characters have their different identities, but that's not their identity.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not something that they're defined by, right?
Yeah.
It is just part of the universe. And I think I don't know what I read recently. No, I think it was actually Princess Leia of Alderaan. I'm reading that, and there was one. Was it Leia, Princess of Alderaan? I'm speaking to myself. I'm sorry, guys. I know you can't answer any of these questions.
Before I can answer that question.
So they land on a new planet, and I think it was a protocol droid that said that they have like 5 genders. And so just to use they, because sometimes they shift as well. And I think it was Leia, Princess of Alderaan, that landed on a planet, and the protocol droid was explaining that. But yeah, a lot of what they've done, a lot of what Star Wars has done thus far for representation has just been trying to kind of create this universe or galaxy where these things are they're just there, you know, and they exist. And that's all anybody ever asks for, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then they get the people who are like, why gotta make it political? It's like, why is people existing political? Like,
also, have you not watched Star Wars?
yeah. Even if it wasn't about wars, just the existence of someone should not like bother you. You know, you're walking down the street, somebody is across the street from you, and they look different. Like, are you really gonna take your time to be like, oh my gosh, they're so different?
And if you are going to, yeah, please make a stupid YouTube video about it so we know who to never listen to again.
Well, you look at someone like Claude and you're like, can you not accept that this person might be non-binary? Like, at the very least, yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Aliens, am I right? So that'll do it for our High Republic Rewind. I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts on just High Republic in general that you guys wanted to share.
Definitely super excited for phase 2 because I'm just so curious on who's gonna have to be the person to try and take down Markion. Is it gonna be Stella? Well, no, it's gonna be like this Force Ghost kind of like Rey moment though, where you know, I have too many thoughts in my head about how this is gonna go because it has to end, and it has to end within somewhat of a time span. Well, not really, but it has to end to a degree to where it's not going to affect the prequels. Because, you know, of course, no one's like, oh yeah, you remember that crazy wall that was up in the Outer Rim for a long time? Couldn't even get to it.
Yeah.
So I'm just very excited to see that. And then, of course, being a dark side lover, I am super excited to see what Acolyte's going to be about. Maybe we get some more Darth Krell.
Do you think that they will do anything further with Revan, or is he going to continue to be the name that just keeps on being said?
I want them to. I mean, as an Old Republic junkie, I want them to do something because I need something to be canon so we can build off of it.
Right.
But I could honestly, with the Acolyte, I would love anything that kind of honestly to undo the rule of 2. I want Revan to be like, oh yeah, Bane got it wrong. I meant one master and one apprentice, not just 2 Sith.
Yeah, I mean, that is what Revan wanted. Yes. Bane was like, you know what, let's put this on crack, you know, let's
hear me out. What if I just kill all the Sith?
Yeah. Sage, final thoughts?
I'm super excited for phase 2. I think that the comics that we're getting for phase 2 are going to be so insane. And I'm sorry for everyone who's going to have to listen to me talk about it. Like, are we
going to have to pull up the ad again?
Third time's the charm.
But yeah, super excited for phase 2. I'm extremely excited for the graphic novel because it's about pirates. And so
yeah,
that's all I want.
Does anybody have any thoughts on who the mother is?
Not at all, actually. I need to start getting my like cork boards out, my annotations. Like,
I want to go into like some weird thing of, you know, like we're talking. It has to me on a par of like Mother Talzin. Like, it's not the Force; it's what they would call magic. Like, they might think of it as dark, but it's not really. It's just because, you know, it's a little bit more edgy.
That's true. Choco, specifically for you, do you think they're trying to do something with the mother that existed in Legends? And I know you really don't want that.
No.
I was like, hold on. Are we going with Avalon? Like, hold on.
No.
We're not trying to bring in Avalon.
Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there.
If we're thinking Abeloth,
You didn't know.
if Abeloth hops in, then I want Star Killer. We're going full in. Let's go.
Listen, I think Abeloth was a mistake, and
Hashtag not
I
my
think it
Abeloth?
needs to be left in the gutter. And one of the great things that we have, because I am someone that does love the expanded universe, have read a lot. I love that we're getting the essential collection, because as much as there was great stuff, there was a lot of weird stuff. There was a lot of bad stuff. And I love now we actually get to bring in the best of the best, or we get to, be selective with what is entering canon. I do want some more dark side stuff. I do want some more deep forced lore. The concept of the mother in that sense just never made any sense.
Yeah, I just wanted to be annoying.
Make me mad.
Hey, one of my random little fun theories is, like, in a lot of the comics, it was always Juntapal's other fallen Jedi, Sorzu Sin, that talks to a lot of people. So maybe she's just finally making her canon appearance. Maybe it's Sorzu Sin.
Could be. Oh man, I would love it if a Juntapal. I don't think that Juntapal is canon, but I would love it if.
Yeah.
Well, they did say. They did say that the statues in Exegol was originally supposed to mirror a Juntapal, but they chose they went against it, so he could have been visual dictionary canon.
Yeah.
But
much like Tenebris and Revan are for the Sith troops.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get to the Exegol level in Lego Star Wars just so I can look around.
I mean, Revan was mentioned in Shadow of the Sith.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just need a firm base point to start building all this Old Republic lore off of, since it is all, it's a canon, it's not a canon. It depends on what you want.
It's a canon. AJ says, I accept no Abeloth without Crate.
Oh, I would lose it.
I really
Love
don't
it.
want Crate either. And that, I guess that's where we're kind of like gonna diverge on that.
I'm sorry, I hate Legacy. I can't. I don't like it.
They can change it. I just love Asherad Het's character.
You know what? I was when Book of Boba Fett was out, I was really hoping that the chief was Asherad Het, like they would canonize like him in that way and not be like Darth Crate, but just be a character.
Come on, everyone's just trying to get to Bikini Babe Red Tweety, okay? Everyone in the whole world is just like, can we just find a way to put talent in something? It'll sell.
What's funny is George Lucas was heavily into that. I laugh because there's the people that were working on the Darth Maul game talk about it, and it's just funny because they're like going to meet with George, and the first thing everyone did, and these were the people that worked on the Wii version of The Force Unleashed. And the first thing they do is they run around the office and they tear down any pictures of The Force Unleashed. And they're like, do not talk about The Force Unleashed with George. And they take out any Starkiller statues or anything like that. And then they bring in Darth Maul statue and a Darth Talon statue. And George Lucas walks up and pushes them together. And he's like, they're friends. like a child. I don't know. I thought that was hilarious. So like, yeah, he's a weirdo.
I'm down.
Well, I think we're out of time for this week's Dyad in the Force. I want to thank Sage and Dexon for being on this week's episode and talking about their favorite High Republic. If you guys aren't into High Republic and you've had the show on mute this whole time and been lurking and you have unmuted, then please get into it. You guys have a couple of months before phase 2 happens, and so that's a lot of time to catch up.
And you'll want to, because we're just going to get sweaty about it, and it's going to be a lot of the content.
Yeah, especially Sage on Fulcrum transmissions. I will not bring up the ad just yet.
I can't wait for Sage's coverage. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna see her for full Pepe Silva.
Yeah, so why don't we go through you once again and let everyone know where they can find you and your wonderful content, and plug anything that's upcoming, including like any episodes that you have that's in the docket, that like what are you guys talking about, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with Sage, because that is what I said.
Yeah, Sage, you can find me on TikTok and Twitter at Sage Sindula. You can also find me at Fulcrum Transmissions Podcast. And yeah, all of it's right there. Twitter and TikTok, Fulcrum Pod. Instagram, Fulcrum Podcast. You can find me on season 2 of The Beings of the Galaxy, which is coming out soon. Yeah, and my Fulcrum Transmissions is going to have some fun episodes in the near future. One is going to be our regular Girl Boss of the Week, which is on Monday. Stay tuned for that. And then hopefully we're going to have some special guests who might write for Star Wars on the podcast soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that one.
Juicy.
Awesome. Darthman in the chat, or Kenny, says, I found a KC native. This was a great day. You guys are friends now.
Yep, I know exactly. He informed me where he works, and I will now stalk him.
That's healthy. All right, on to you, Jackson.
Okay, Duxon download for all of my platforms to make it as easy as possible. Thankfully, no one wanted to pick up that random jungle planet from KOTOR 2. I have every Friday, I have the House of Holocrons podcast. Me, my wife, and one of my best long-term friends, we're going to talk about Star Wars. If you go over to my YouTube channel, you can also find a full Phase 1 review of the High Republic. If you don't really feel like reading all of it, I go through the comics, how they all kind of list together. I go through all the books, and just a big like omnibus of me just yelling, oh my god, this was great, and this is why. And then I even have another video I just posted about Phase 2 and what you all should get hyped for. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on. It was such a blast to have you guys on. Choco, do you want to also plug what you got coming up and your socials?
Yeah, just check out the High Ground podcast Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
5 p.m.
Yes, rolling it back. Previously, due to work, I had moved it forward to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, but I'm no longer at that job, so no longer a requirement. But yeah, always happy to talk Star Wars with amazing people. We appreciate having you guys on.
It was an honor, and I'm still shaking a little.
I mean,
well, you're serious and regular now, so you'll get used to it.
Yeah, I got my Jabba juice. I'll get some courage.
Right on. Is it a smoothie?
I can make it one.
I don't know what that entails, and I don't want to know. And of course, you can find me on TikTok _element7 _ gang. Also here on YouTube, Dyad and the Force. And feel free to hit me up on Twitter, ask me questions there, and ask me questions on TikTok. I love answering questions of the lore variety. Shout out to Cal4, who sends a heart, and I suppose that is to everyone on the panel. Check him out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Cal4, as it's spelled in the chat. I do plan to have a lot more people's graphics on display. I know we've made it kind of like a running gag to but it's the only graphic I have. And
I put one in the Discord, but it was way too late.
Yeah, so like I'm gonna have beings, I'm gonna have podwans, I'm gonna have other podcasts have their graphics hopefully from Taika Waititi, not the Taika Waititi, but Hayden, and all the other podcasts. It's really difficult to remember them, and I would just love to have like an archive of everyone's podcast, especially when they're on as guests, and just be able to pull up their graphics. So, yeah, it was fun to throw around the Fulcrum Transmissions all episode because that was just the only graphic that I had. But thank you guys again so much for stopping by, and of course thank you to our members of Dyad Squadron, without which we could not continue to make content each week. Thank you for your love and support. There are more of us. But I believe that is it. That's the end. On to the next one.
For light and for life.
We are all the Republic.
And may the force
Ride
be
the
with you.
storm.
Oh!
Ride the storm.
Ride the storm.